Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today we are doing Comic Uno episode 47, and this is a show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. So let's get started. We got 17 comics. We're going worst pick of the week to best pick of the week. So yeah, let's start with number 17. I have 6 digital, all the rest printed. So yeah, let's start with the worst pick of the week. And that is Madame Frankenstein, issue 1. I tried this out. It sounded interesting. I didn't know it's in black and white. A lot of the Image books are in black and white now. But yeah, the title sounded interesting. It's a monster story, and I was like, why not? But overall, it's just, you didn't really learn anything about the character. You didn't really learn anything about Frankenstein. You never got invested at any point. It was also a black and white comic, which I didn't mind because it was supposed to feel classic. You know, Frankenstein is a classic monster story. But it felt less detailed, like Going to Shotgun Wedding, a really cool miniseries. The black and white worked for the series. It felt like it was needed. And this, it just felt like, yeah, we just didn't want colors, so it felt less artistic. It felt like, I don't know, it felt kind of cheap to me. So, story-wise, just okay. I don't know, I guess I expected more with it. So, I'm going to give it two stars. It was okay. Probably less than okay. I just didn't really like it that much. I just never got invested to the title, so I probably won't be getting issue 2. Let's talk about number 16, which is Iron Fist, The Living Weapon, issue 2. It wasn't bad this issue, but I just feel like the series is way too dark for me. As you can see, I'm not a big fan of really, really dark titles, especially for different characters. I never felt like Iron Fist was a dark character. I know a lot of Iron Fist fans say he is, but I never felt that with this character. Or at least that's the time I don't really enjoy him that much. I'm not a big Iron Fist fan. I really tried this because I wanted to become an Iron Fist fan, but realized I'm not really a big Iron Fist fan. But yeah, there's some cool potential here. Like, I really liked the reporter that Danny didn't really know her name, and she was like helping this kid who was like this ninja child. I thought she was pretty funny. I thought she added some humor to the issue. But yeah, and then I really liked the summary and his origins of like how his father died, how his mother protected him, and she died for him, and then he's taken by these people. But then everything else, the main story is just so dark, and I feel like it's magical, but at the same time I feel like there's just too much going on, especially if you don't know much about Iron Fist, and if you're a new reader of Iron Fist like myself, there's way too much going on to actually like digest the story. And like I said, it's a very dark story. I couldn't really get into the artwork. But I'm glad I gave issue 2 a try. I've liked issue 1 enough to say, hey, let me give issue 2 a try. I don't like issue 2 enough to give the next issue a try, though. But I'm glad I gave it a fair shot. But it's just not really my style. I don't think I'm going to be picking this up. But if it seems like it's different type of people's taste. So it might be your taste, it's just not mine. So that was number 16. Alright, so number 15 is Original Sin, issue 1. I'm upset to see this so low because I really loved issue 0. It was almost my pick of the week when it came out, like, what, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Really liked issue 0. And I was expecting a really good issue 1. And what we got was nothing, honestly. We got what we expected. You know, the Watcher died, but that's it that happened. Nothing was added in this issue. It's just a lot of blabbering, a lot of talking, a lot of the same characters we always see, like Captain America, Spider-Man, like all these characters that are always used and utilized, we saw here. And the art was very dark. I didn't really like how it fit. Actually, I would even say more of the coloring was really dark. I thought the art was actually okay, but the coloring just made it less enjoyable. This is actually a pretty good page, but a lot of the beginning was just way too dark for me. I don't know. Like, this page is supposed to be, like, light. It's them eating steak and talking about their favorite steaks, and then it's just so dark. You can't even see their faces. I would say if you didn't have the names on top, you wouldn't notice who all these characters are. Well, these are main characters, but some of the characters are probably like, oh, is that Jessica Drew or someone else? But yeah, the art kind of bogged it down for me this issue. Nothing really went on in this issue. I was a little upset with that. I expected a little bit more. Will it be getting the next issue? Probably. I want to see more Original Sin. I think there's a lot of potential with the series. But I thought issue 0 is a lot better to get into Original Sin than issue 1 itself. Because a lot of things you knew was going to happen. And there's nothing else really here. And again, utilizing a lot of characters that you see a lot. Like, I would rather see different characters here. Alright, now we're up to number 14. which is, one of my cards fell, which is The Wake, issue 8. This is a Comic Frontline exclusive. I like this issue. What I noticed with The Wake, I actually like the first story, the first part, a lot better right now than the second part. Because the first part, I feel like we got into the supporting characters, and the second part, there's all these different supporting characters. Like, you're mixing around with this new crew that captured our main character. I think her name's Archer Lee. I think she's related, honestly, to the person in part 1. But yeah, to Lee, like, she got kidnapped, and then there's the government, and there's too many characters to catch up with. That gets a little confusing throughout the issue. And since we're so close to the ending, I feel with the end of this issue, we're getting pretty close to the ending. You feel that. We get to see the part 1 character, the doctor who died in part 1. We see her video. So what's the true mystery here? And we're learning a little bit more about that in the end of this issue. But it takes a while to get there. So overall, there's not a lot going on with this issue, but I'm looking forward to the next issue. I think it'll be better because, again, we have that video now that she saw, and what will our main character of part 2, what's she going to do next? And hopefully the supporting characters get a little bit more interesting. And I gotta say, there's a lot of nudity in this issue, unnecessary nudity. Actually, I feel like there's another issue like that, too. There's another issue I read, there was a lot of unnecessary nudity. I think this was one of them, because I remember I read it, like, back to back. But yeah, so I'm going to give this, I think I gave it 3 stars. Just want to make sure. Yeah, I gave this 3 stars. So it was okay. I think it's up to you guys. It's just I thought this was a weaker issue from The Wake, but I'm sure the next 2 issues will be great. So looking forward to the next issues. Alright, so number 13 is Real Heroes, issue 2. I love the aspect of this series. Celebrities who play Avenger-like heroes actually having to be real heroes, and I love that premise. But they're kind of screwing with it with this with the series, because it seems like there's 2 different universes. One universe where the Olympians are true, and I guess our Hollywood people our actors have to pretend to be them for a second, then they're gonna go home. But it's a little confusing because you don't know what's actually, like, how does this connect to the other world? Like, I was really confused of how there's 2 different universes. They don't really explain it in this series. And every single time they explain, every single time they bring up the 2 different universes, I just get more and more confused. How is this comic book a real place? Like, I wish they made it less plot holey with this series. But overall, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm surprised it's kind of lower than I want it to be, but I'm really hoping this is just a story arc with this whole other world, and this is the way they get their powers, or get their equipment, and then they'll go to the real world to become, like, real heroes. That's what I'm hoping. This is just, like, a one-story arc thing to kind of get to the place we want to get. But I'm still looking forward to the rest of the series. I just thought this was a little weaker of an issue, so I gave that 3 stars. So let's go into number 12, which is Angel and Faith, issue 2, which is season 10. I did not mind Angel and Faith. I actually like Angel and Faith a lot more than Buffy. But this is also reading it from, like, just starting from season 10. So what I've noticed, I'm going to have to catch up with Trade, because I feel like I'm very lost with these characters, even though I've watched all the TV shows, and I love the TV shows. I just feel really lost with different characters. With this, I thought this was pretty good, but what I don't like about Angel and Faith is that they're not working together. I think what was awesome about Angel was Angel Investigations, and throughout this whole series, there's none of them left. Pretty sure that, I don't remember if Fred died, I'm pretty sure she died in the show. But yeah, we don't have Gunn, we don't have Wesley, and obviously we don't have Cordelia. So it's kind of hard to read it without them. And then we have Faith, who I've never been a humongous Faith fan, I'll admit that. But Liza Dushku is an awesome actress, but I've never been a humongous Faith fan. But I actually liked Faith the most in this issue, honestly. I liked her story the most. But for now, I think I am going to drop it and just pick it up and trade instead. But I really did like the cliffhanger. I thought, I was like, ooh, should I get the next issue? I'm like, probably not, because I'm only going to want to find out the cliffhanger, and I'm not actually going to like the next issue. But yeah, I thought this issue was okay. I gave it, especially as a new reader to the series and having not read the previous stories, I'm going to give it 3 stars and pick it up and trade. So now we're up to number 13. Alright, we're up to number 11, which is The Woods, issue 1 from Boom Studios. I actually like this issue. I thought this was a pretty cool start. I thought it was a really good first issue. It's about these kids. They're normal kids. They're all from different social groups in a way, but somehow they're all friends. And you see exactly what these characters are. And now the school goes somewhere. There's a big flash of light, and these monsters are outside. It seems like they're on a moon. We don't know exactly where they are, but the principal's there, the faculty is still there, and the students. And they don't know where a safe place is, and that's the whole issue. So I liked it, honestly. I thought it was a good issue. I don't know how long I'm going to keep this story on my pull list, but I want to give this another issue, see where it goes. I really like the art. I like the potential of the series. I think it could be interesting. But they explained the series as a combination of Revival and Morning Glories. And I haven't read Revival, but I think Morning Glories had a much better issue 1 than this. But yeah, a lot to see with The Woods. I think it could be an interesting story, so I'll give issue 2 a try. I like the characters enough with this issue. Thought the art was pretty good, and the story's interesting. So I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. Alright, so number 10. We're up to number 10, which is Green Arrow, issue 31. Yeah, this is a little lower, and I feel like Green Arrow is never going to make it to the top until I see something of my old Green Arrow. Because with Green Arrow, I like this, but I felt there was a lot of clutteredness throughout the issue. We get to see a lot happen. We get to see that Oliver's father dies. He does officially die. Oliver's sister is angry that everyone's lying to her. That sounds very similar to Thea, but obviously she's this kung fu assassin. Shadow's Dory here and Oliver's sister. So she kills the person that took care of her all her life because he lied to her. And now she's going to go with Shadow. And Oliver is done with this whole Arrow clan thing. He just breaks the arrow and is like, I'm done. You guys could deal with each other, but I'm going back to Seattle. And that's what's going on in this issue. And we have a good cliffhanger with Dig. Dig should be having another story with all these Arrow villains like Brick. Count Vertigo's there, Richard Dragon, so it's all these different Arrow villains that Dig has a connection with, so I'm looking forward to that. But what did I not love? Again, there's a lot of clutteredness. I felt like I didn't enjoy the story to this fullest because it's so dark, it's so bogged down, the series, that even though there's some really cool character interactions, like with Oliver's sister, like with Oliver's father, Shadow, like the whole group, I still feel that's so bogged down, so dark, the series, that you can't enjoy those character moments. And then Katana's in this issue randomly, which the whole Katana story could have been cut out. I mean, I understand they're trying to relate it to something, that she's related to the Sword Clan, but it had nothing to do with Oliver's story, and I just didn't feel like Katana's story was needed here. Maybe you could have dealt with that in, like, Birds of Prey or something. And I still don't really care about his own clan, his own team. And I think that's a really big problem with this series, is that I just don't even dig. Like, the way he's introduced here, you don't really care for his character. I mean, I watch Arrow and I don't really care about Dig in this series. So yeah, I just feel like on and off with this series. Like, I don't know, like, there's good parts about it. Like, obviously this is still a really good story. We have some really cool character interactions, but it's just not Green Arrow, and it's hard to get into the series, for me, personally. So I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. I thought it was okay, but the series could be a lot better, I feel. Alright, so now we're up to number 9, which is a Comic Frontline exclusive, which is Powerpuff Girls, issue 9. Fun issue. I don't think this was as good as the Monster Story arc, but it was still a really good issue. And I love that the series has continuity, because most of the time, like with these kids issues, they'll be like, yeah, that never happened, the monsters never came. But they actually made a joke in this issue, talking about one of the monsters were left behind. So I like that they actually bring back from, like, issue 2, like, they actually explain that, so you have to actually read the whole series. But I had fun with this. The Rowdy Rough Boys are back, which I thought was fun. They're a boy band. I love that this has the same exact tone as the TV show, like I've been saying about this comic. But it feels 2014 to me. It's not the 1990s. They're not making references to whatever they would make a reference to. What would they make a reference to? I don't know, Furby or something. They're not making references to that. They're making references to boy bands and 3D movies. So I like that they're doing that. I like that they're making it fun. They're making new stories, but still having what the Powerpuff Girls have always been about. So, and then bringing old villains like the Rowdy Rough Boys. So I really enjoyed this. Art was great. Again, this was a little weaker than the previous stories. I wasn't so much as invested as, you know, Mojo Jojo turning evil, turning good, and the monster story, but I am enjoying this one too. So I'm going to give it 3.5. That was number 9. Alright, number 8 is Grimm Fairy Tales, issue 97. You might be saying, Kat, you never get Grimm Fairy Tales. But I've been trying to get into more Zenescope books. The fairy, the Tooth Fairy cover really interested me. So I was like, oh, how's a Tooth Fairy going to be in, like, Grimm Fairy Tales? So I thought issue 97 might be a really good point to pick up Grimm Fairy Tales, and I'll go back, like, get the trades or whatever. So, yeah, I actually really enjoyed the issue. I got invested to this Tooth Fairy character very quickly. I think the only confusing part was there is this other lady who's in the issue that wanted to destroy the Tooth Fairy, and, like, at first trying to help her, and it's like, yeah, nah, I'm only using you, and now you're, like, a total monster. So I thought that was the only confusing part as a new reader, but overall, I thought, the Tooth Fairy was an interesting character. I liked the spin of her character, because it is a Grimm Fairy Tale. She has to eat bones and teeth to survive. Art was pretty good. I liked it. I think there was times when the art was a little sketchy, but it's pretty good for the series. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. It made me want to pick up more Grimm Fairy Tales, and it got me interested in the series. So I will be getting issue 98 digitally, and I'm excited to read more. So that was number 8, and I was really shocked at that. I really liked it. So I'm going to give that 3.5 stars. Alright, number 7 is She-Hulk, issue 4. Fun issue. I really enjoyed this. We get to see her team up with Daredevil, go to San Francisco, and I love that they're poking fun at Matt Murdock and She-Hulk never having a case with each other, or a case against each other. So I thought that was interesting, probably foreshadowing to a future story arc. And you know, you really never get to see these two lawyers interact with each other, which is weird, and I like that we actually get to see Matt and Jen interact. So I thought that was definitely the best part here. But the second half was the weaker part of this issue, of why I'm giving this a 3.5 more than a 4, was, yeah, it was a little weak at points where we get to see the Doctor Doom stories continuing, but it wasn't really needed to continue. We could have really finished this whole story last issue. It's mostly She-Hulk just flies there to say, hey, your son needs his own life, and Doctor Doom pretty much goes down without a fight. He's like, yeah, sure, have him have his own life. That's fine. Like, I didn't know you felt that way. So she flies there, has this whole discussion through this whole issue, and it's such an easy fight. Didn't really have to do anything. So I don't think they need to dedicate a whole issue to it. Also, I was a little disappointed with the cliffhanger. Sorry, my comic just fell. I was a little disappointed with the cliffhanger. I didn't really care about the Blue Book thing. I think she's involved with some case, that she's actually in a case with Shocker, with all these different heroes. Well, Shocker's not a hero, so I don't know why he was in here. Maybe it's a different Shocker. But yeah, it's all these different heroes that Namor, I think, was on here. And this is the blue case. She didn't want to touch it, but there's no other cases, so that's the next issue. I didn't think that was the greatest cliffhanger. So the second half was the part that I was like, but the first half I loved. I love the Matt Murdock stuff. So I'm going to give this a 3.5. I still thought it was a fun issue, but there's some unnecessary stuff in this issue also. And this wasn't the best She-Hulk issue so far. But it was okay. I'm going to give it 3.5. Alright, so now we're going to be up to number 6. Alright, number 6 is Detective Comics, issue 31. I was a little disappointed that this is lower than I wanted it to be. This is just explaining a little bit more about Icarus. We get to see, why can't I think of his name right now? Bullock. We get to see that Bullock is taking charge after Jim Gordon's in jail, so we actually get to see a connection to Batman Eternal. And he's upset with the Icarus thing because he has personal involvement with this drug. And Bruce is just trying to figure out, where did this drug come from? Why did Elena, what happened to Elena? And we get to see the daughter is a little bit involved with this, but we didn't get to see a lot of the daughter, which I was really disappointed with, because I thought the daughter was going to be a main part of the story. But she wasn't. We just get to see that she's taking these drugs. We don't know exactly why. But again, a lot of discussions more about the Icarus drug itself throughout the issue, which probably was the biggest disappointment. I wanted more about the characters. We get to see a little bit about Bullock and Bruce's involvement. Like, Bullock is a little suspicious of Bruce, so I like that. But yeah, so there's some good character interaction, but this was a little bit too long, in my opinion. This could have been a little shorter with the whole Icarus thing. I wanted more involvement with Elena's daughter. I thought that was the direction they were going, and they didn't really go that direction with this issue. But the art was great. I just thought this was a little bit of a slower issue than I wanted, and I think I gave this a 3.5. I did give it a 3.5. So, but art is amazing. Love the art for this series. Even though the story was a little it was more point A, point B issue. So I'm going to give it a 3.5. I thought it was okay, but I'm still looking forward to the next issue and more for the Icarus stuff once we get the other character involvements. So I'm going to give that a 3.5. Alright, so now we're going up to top 5. Alright, top 5. Let's see. Number 5 is Amazing Spider-Man, issue 1.1. Very solid issue. This is year 1 of the Amazing Spider-Man, year 1 of Spider-Man himself, before he's a hero. We get to see him more as the celebrity here. And it's pretty much things we've seen before, you know, Peter trying to be the man of the house, Flash Thompson beating him up, or trying to beat him up. His grades are slipping, but the real dark horse here, the real extra story, is this new guy who's been at every Spider-Man event, and he wants to be his own superhero, even though he doesn't have powers. And I have a feeling this is not going to end well. And that's the story I really enjoyed with the Amazing Spider-Man issue 1. I thought that was a great way to get into the story, and you kind of have to read that story to get into this issue. I feel like you need a background on this character to really understand who he is, because I enjoyed his character more because I read that background story, that backup story from Amazing Spider-Man issue 1, which I'm sure you guys read issue 1 if you're reading this. That's my guess, probably. But yeah, I love the art. I think the art is what really impressed me. I love the coloring. I loved how bright it was. It was cartoony too. It felt so old school with the Peter's glasses. I love the art for this series. I thought it was great. And it's solid. Now, the only thing that worries me about this series is that I'm afraid it's going to be the same thing over and over again. It's like, oh, well, Peter has to go here and, you know, be a celebrity. I hope the story develops, you know. Hopefully it's not like the same thing over and over again. Which it seems like the story will develop. I trust Dan Slott for that. He always develops stories pretty well and moves the story fast. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully the art will stay the same, which I'm sure it will. It's a mini-series. So I'm looking forward to the next issue. I thought this was a very solid issue, and I'm going to give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. So I'm hoping I even love the next issue probably. I just thought this was a very solid issue. Alright, now we're going up to number 4, which is Future's End, issue 1. Yeah, this actually really shocked me. I was looking forward to Future's End because it is a big event. It's a new weekly series, so I was looking forward to it. But at the same point, I wasn't, because these are characters I really don't care about. Like Stormwatch, I've never read. Never really gotten into Wildstorm, so I never read Grifter. I like Batman Beyond, but I don't like him enough to pick up his own series. Like, I liked his TV show growing up. I'm not a humongous Batman Beyond fan. So I was a little scared for this. You know, all these kind of nobody characters. Firestorm's in this too. But I think with this issue, I actually cared about these characters, and I think every story was pretty interesting. I love the Grifter story. Grifter is just like this dark character and wants to kill everybody in his way to get this alien girl. He's like, well, I don't really care what people think about me. People are going to think I'm crazy anyways. And you think he's crazy because he's killing this innocent girl, but we find out he's an alien. And I thought there's some good cliffhangers. We get to see some death here. I won't spoil one of them, but the ending death I do want to spoil. Which I feel like we've seen this cliffhanger so many times already. I think this is like the most used cliffhanger, which is Green Arrow dying. Like, I think I've seen Green Arrow die 100 times already. Because he's always getting stabbed by something by the end of an issue, especially if he's involved in an issue. But yeah, what I liked about this issue, again, is that I cared about these characters. I cared about the death, with Stormwatch characters, with the Green Arrow death, of course. I thought it was written very well, the characters. The art was really good, too. We know this is going to change with these weekly series, because obviously the same artist can't be on this, you know, the book every week. I thought this artist, whoever did the art for this issue, was great. But also, I do want to mention, I was a little confused with the 5 years later thing. So, is Green Arrow dead now? Is he not? Because Firestorm is mentioning facts that seem like right after Forever Evil. It's like, yeah, we're part of the Justice League now, after everything that happened. So I felt like, that was more of like, oh, that's like 5 years, that doesn't feel 5 years later. That feels like right after Forever Evil. But then with Batman Beyond, it is 5 years later. So are these deaths permanent? Are these actually happening? We don't know. So I was a little confused of timeline in this issue. But overall, I really thought this was a solid issue, and I was impressed with it. I wasn't expecting that much. So I'm going to give it 4 stars. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the series. Hopefully it keeps surprising me. So I'm going to give that 4 stars. So now we're up to number 3. Number 3 is Batman Eternal, issue 5. I was impressed with this. I like this issue too. We're getting characters we haven't seen in a while, like Harper Row. She's becoming a vigilante once again, and her brother is actually affected with the techno disease that the little kids were affected by in the first issue. So Tim Drake is doing an investigation on all that, and somehow everyone just ends up in the same room by the end, because Vicky Val is saved by Harper Row because Vicky Val is trying to get to the bottom of the whole Gordon case. And again, they all just end up in the same room by the end of the issue. And that's what I liked. I liked that all the stories really connected really well. I thought it went really smoothly connecting all the stories. We got to see characters we haven't seen in a while, like I said. Tim Drake was actually kind of in character here. Even though it's still not my Tim Drake, him saying, well, yeah, I was Red Robin, I teamed up with you. He still felt like Tim Drake to me, the way he was talking to Batman. So I like that. I would say he's 75% there in this issue as old Tim Drake, or like a noticeable Tim Drake. I like that a lot, and obviously he felt more detective work here. I loved how he talked back to Batman. Vicky Val, again, a character I haven't seen in a really long time. I like that she became part of the action, because she's a big part of the Batman stuff, so it's interesting to see her again. But I liked it. I thought it was a really solid issue. Will I say it's the best Batman Eternal issue? No, I've read better, but I like that they're utilizing these characters. But the problem I actually had with this was probably the proportions of the art. Here's an example of Tim Drake's lip. That's some proportions, right? I mean, it's on and off with the whole issue. Like, some of the portions are fine, but there's just some that look a little weird. So, art is a little off. I thought the coloring was great for it, but the art was a little off for the issue. Again, there's some good pages, but some of the portions don't work so well. So I'm going to give it 4 stars. I thought that was a solid issue, and I'm looking forward to more Batman Eternal. I like, again, the utilized characters we haven't seen in a while. So I'm going to give that 4 stars. So now we're going to go up to number 2. Alright, number 2 is Earth 2 issue 23. I love Earth 2. I was totally impressed with this issue once again. We got 2 stories. One that I was really impressed with was the Lois story, where Superman's like, Lois, it's you. And he's so happy to find Lois, but you could tell, like, everyone's still scared of him. I love the tension that Tom Taylor really brings out with this issue, because Superman's like, oh, you're alive. Let's go to my parents right now. So he goes to the parents, and he's all happy, but Martha's face, which I thought was great art-wise, she's like, come in, Clark. But the tension in her face works so well, because you know that everyone's scared of him because of what he's done. But Lois is the only one that can control Superman, so she's trying to calm him down and say, yeah, I'm Lois. Come on, let's go to your parents' house. So I love that it's still Superman, but we still have that tension of Darkseid here. I loved how they utilized that. And then we have a death scene here, which I won't spoil. I spoiled it in my in-depth review, and I said I was going to spoil it. But there's a death scene. I still thought the whole Green Lantern / Batman team was really cool. We get to see that Superman / Darkseid's minions go into the Batcave. Things blow up, so there's some big stuff over there. Art, again, was great. I just loved it. I thought it was great. But again, what made it was Lois and Superman. I think Lois is my favorite part about this series. And since she's been in this series, I think it's been an awesome series. I love the spin that she, and that was not a pun, but I love the spin that she was Red Tornado. So yeah, I enjoyed this issue to its fullest. So I'm going to give it 4.5 stars. I liked it. I can't wait to see where Earth 2 goes. So that's my number 2 pick. What was number 1, which was... Da-da-dun! Miles Morales, The Ultimate Spider-Man issue 1. We all guessed it. You probably guys knew this is going to be my number 1. And like I said, I really haven't been liking the Ultimate titles that have come out from All New Marvel now, or All New Ultimates, whatever they're trying to call it now. The All New Ultimates title, I just did not like. I didn't like the art, mostly because of the art. I'm going to try issue 2, but FF was, I couldn't read that either. So, Ultimates, I'll probably get the second issue. FF, I'm just not even reading the second issue. But was I scared for this Miles Morales' story? I'm going to say no, because it's the same creative team, so I wasn't really initially scared that it was going to be like all the other Ultimate titles, because I knew that this creative team has been handling Miles Morales since the beginning. So, I wasn't really scared for it. With this issue, we get to see a lot of stories happening. We get to see Norman still alive. A small story going on is that these twin spiders are there. There's these twin spiders. They're like new villains, new threats to Miles Morales. Miles is deciding if he should tell Kate that he's Spider-Man, and he asks Mary Jane for her opinion, what she thinks he should do. We have that overlaying thing of Miles' father just running away, never coming back because of Miles being Spider-Man. And then we have a big cliffhanger, which I'm going to talk about. But the cliffhanger, spoiler alert, is Peter Parker is back. So let me talk about all the things I really enjoyed before Peter Parker. And I'm going to do the same thing I did with my in-depth review. Love that Miles is going to tell Kate. And my prediction is I would love to see, because, there's reactions you can have to this. You can have, oh, I hate that you're Spider-Man. No, go away. There could be, I love that you're Spider-Man. Interesting thing that they even reference in this issue. How about if she says, I'm a superhero also. I'm Hawkeye. Even though we haven't seen Hawkeye in this, but it'd be interesting if she was a superhero. Or she's gonna be a superhero. Be Hawkeye. So I don't know if they're gonna go that direction, but I would love to see if they do. Because Kate obviously is Hawkeye in the regular universe. So I'm really interested to see what they do with that. What else do I want to talk about before the whole big ending? Norman, that was pretty interesting seeing he was still alive. I really love how they integrate Peter's life with Miles' life and just brings it together into this one Spider-Man world. And I think they utilize that so well in the past Ultimate Comics Spider-Man series and this present one also. Alright, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Spider-Man, Peter Parker. How do I feel about this? I've said in the past on live shows that I don't want Peter Parker to be alive, and I still stick to that. I feel like his death wouldn't be as powerful if he is alive. And not, why am I saying like, oh, well, he's alive, like he's in the ending? I just feel like he's rummaging through Miles' house. Would the Peter Parker of the Ultimate Universe do that? Wouldn't he like go to his own house to get like something? I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the only place that Peter's costume is, but couldn't he make it like his own costume again? I don't know. I just don't feel like he would go to Miles Morales' house to get clothes. So I'm really curious to see if this is actually Peter Parker. I just have this gut feeling it's not. I feel like that's a cliffhanger. But I don't want it to be Peter Parker. If it is Peter Parker, whatever, I'm a little upset because I feel like the death of Peter Parker is one of my favorite story arcs, and it wouldn't be as powerful if Peter is alive after, like, it's been a couple of years now, but still. It's actually been a lot of years. I feel like it's been, like, 4 years. It's been a while since Peter died. But still, I don't know. I don't really want him to be alive. But I did love the cliffhanger. I love this issue. I thought there were some really great things. And what they should have done with Amazing Spider-Man 1 was have, set the tone like they did in this series, in the Ultimate Comics Spider-Man, but have some more stories going on. Have that Peter's alive, or have that Kate Bishop wants to, Miles wants to tell Kate Bishop that he's Spider-Man. So tell those stories too, and I feel like Amazing Spider-Man issue 1 missed on that, and this is the right thing they did with Miles Morales, is that they had interesting stories, but they planted seeds. Like, it was awesome, this issue. Art was great. Even though I'm a little torn on this ending, I really love this issue, and it made me really excited for the next issue. So I'm going to give it 4.5 stars. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please tell me in comments below what your worst pick of the week, your best pick of the week was, everything in between. Of course, I'll have Comic episode 48 up next week. So hope you guys enjoyed. This is Comic and Comic Frontline. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter for Comic and their own situations. And don't forget to like my Facebook page. And please comment in the comments below your favorite picks in every comic I talked about. Talk amongst yourself about your favorite issues and issues that came out this week. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys later. Bye.